Hello everyone, and welcome to what I think will be a very interesting conversation with Laurent Schmitt. Laurent, thank you very much for being here with me today.
Thank you for inviting us.
So, we are at the European Sustainable Energy Week. The focus of this event is more on skills and the energy transition. However, with you, I would like to focus a little bit on energy data spaces because I know that you are involved in a series of projects. First of which a project that I would like to mention is EDI.
So EDI is one of the five European funded projects which is going to prototype European energy data space, which we think are very important infrastructure required to facilitate data exchange between all the sector of the energy industry and, generally speaking, facilitate the development of new use cases such as the management of flexibility. And we, Dcbel, are in particular implied onto use cases related to the engagement of residential prosumers into future flexibility markets.
If I'm not mistaken, the EDI project is based on open source management, right? It's an open source project. What does that exactly mean?
Yes, you are right. So the idea is really to use as much as open source technology stack for the data access and data acquisition in order to lower the cost of developing new energy services, example, flexibility services. So we have been particularly careful on making use of software technology developed from other sectors and trying to apply it into the energy space while adding new interoperability layers in between, so that I would say homes and prosumers in the future will become plug and play, if I may say so, with flexibility service provider and TSOs and DSOs in the context of the future flexibility code.
I mean, you use some really important words here, like flexibility, interoperability, and if I may so, plug and play is also very important.
Yes.
As a consumer, for me, that's the most important
Yes.
element. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? How are you going to educate, let's say, consumers?
Yes. So starting from the consumer, we want it to be automated, easy to use. So at the starting point, we don't want to lock consumer. We want the consumer to buy its preferred equipment, a heat pump, an EV charger, solar PV, and so on, and bring it into his home, get it installed, and then enable this dedicated equipment to plug and play into the utility world without even considering it, still making sure that it controls the set of data which is transferred to this grid operator or flexibility service provider. So from the consumer side, we want it to be easy, transparent, and so on. From the other side, because of the number of devices which are at stake here, we talk about millions of cars, heat pumps, and so on, we cannot afford to have in the flexibility service provider or the grid operator engineering team to configure manually each of the new heat pump or EV which plugs into the system. So it has to be plug and play. So exactly the same way as what you have your USB stick on your PC, and you don't care about the manufacturer of your USB stick, but the USB stick is able to communicate with your PC hardware. So we exactly want to do the same. We want to be able to enable DR, distributed energy resources, to connect into the cloud, and from there enable consumer to share their data with their flexibility service provider, with their retailer, in order to have the best offer in terms of energy price, but also flexibility revenues.
Sounds like the dream, to be honest. But I think that also the Linky project, the ENEDIS project, Linky, is connected to EDI,
yes.
right?
So what we've decided is to be very pragmatic into our data space and to start from available data, which are smart metering data. So we picked a few countries in Europe, Austria, France, Spain, Denmark, where there are existing smart meter data hub. And the first layer which we create is a pan-European interconnection of data hub, so that in the future there will be a single API access into Europe, into any country, so that if you are an energy service provider, you can actually, with the consumer consent, access to a meter in Spain or Austria or France. So this is really the basic building block, and we've got very strong support from Enedis, for instance, in France. The next step will be to go beyond just the main meter and going to the sub-meter, to the dedicated measurement device. So the consumer is in her or his home environment has a lot of DR, distributed energy resources, heat pumps, smart chargers, which themselves have their own sub-meters. And we want to be able to make use of this sub-metering data as complementary data to the main meter. So in the future, we want to create an infrastructure which will allow to manage energy and flexibility data for every European citizen on one side, and for each, as per the Data Act, and for each citizen to decide with whom she or he wants to share the data to benefit from the best retail offer or the best flexibility offer.
Laurent, I have about 1,000 questions now, but I will only ask one last one. And since Eddie has monopolized our conversation, I would like to ask you about the other projects. If you can, in let's say a short sentence, tell me a little bit about them.
Yes, so we are implied into a few other projects. One is the OneNet project. So OneNet project is now a project which has analyzed for the last 3 years basically what should be the target market design for future flexibility markets. And here we test basically the automatic bidding interaction of a consumer into this future flexibility market. So we are going to reuse the know-how from OneNet into EDI. And the other project which we are part of is BD for NRG, which is a project which is working on data science, big data, and where we would like to add, I would say, an artificial intelligence layer into the bidding interface of the consumer, so that we can guess basically the best flexibility of a heat pump or an EV out of AI and machine learning. So these are the two main projects. We also have two other projects in the UK. Maybe I'm going to refer to one, which is known as Vector, like vehicle to community, where we are testing models where electrical vehicle with bidirectional charging are able to automatically interact with the citizen energy community, and basically be able to maximize usage of the local renewable when it's available. So we really see a lot of interesting development happening at the intersection between the digital transformation and the energy transformation. So this is really this energy data space which we are referring to.
Going together hand in hand. Seems to me, Laurent, that you're going to be very busy in the future.
We are.
Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching us.